You're watching this video because you want a structured way to study that actually secures you top marks. You feel like even when you study harder, grind through more questions, and review even more notes, nothing seems to work. Do not watch this video if you are going to simply watch without using these strategies to actually make changes to your study approach. Well, if you are going to watch this video, I want you to make a commitment to yourself that you will actually make changes to your study. If you aren't committed to improving your study strategy, simply close the tab because this video will be a waste of your time. Well, if you are still here, I'm glad that you are. You have committed yourself to improving and you're taking the first step. My name is Nelson Luo and I'm the founder and principal of NL English Academy. I lead the NL English Academy team to place hundreds of students into top OC and selective schools and push our high schools into top performing bands. In this complete study guide, I will uncover 6 secret study strategies that helped me secure a spot in the #1 ranked selective school and graduate within the top 1.8% of Australians. Now, the NL English Academy team mentors hundreds of students across Australia and Asia, and now we're on a mission to share free resources, exam tips, study guides, and strategies to the wider community of parents. Before I do start though, I want you to remember one thing. Learning is not simply the process of acquiring new knowledge and reading or listening to new things. The only way to know if you're actually learning is by reflecting on your previous self. After this video, you must ask yourself, will I actually make these changes? And if not now, then when? The reason I say this is because it's extremely common for students to simply read and agree with things that are told to them. Then afterwards, forget to actually take action and change. And I guess that defeats the purpose of reading or watching this in the first place. Anyways, today I'm going to break down the 6 study strategies. #1, the power of teaching someone else. 2, creating your own personal mistakes book. 3, the space repetition revision strategy. 4, how to actually familiarize with exam conditions. 5, the Pomodoro technique. And lastly, #6, how sport is non-negotiable. These study strategies were harnessed by the top 1% of Australian students that you must use to consistently dominate your exams. Study strategy 1, the power of teaching someone else. The process of active recall requires you to make the mental effort to try and remember something you've learned once before, which is one of the most powerful ways to retain your knowledge. Most students apply the active recall method through simply repeating practice questions, but very few have delved into other learning methods beyond simply writing. Well, let's give an example scenario using active recall. Say an NL English Academy student learns the apostrophe technique for the first time. During homework, the student tries to recall the technique to place into their creative writing piece. The student tries to do this without actually looking back at the lesson notes and trying to think of it straight from memory. This is active recall in written form. In my personal experience, the best way to actually apply active recall isn't actually through the written form. It's through teaching someone else who is unfamiliar with the concept and communicating it to them in a way to ensure that they understand it too. Here's how you should approach teaching someone else to apply the active recall method. #1, find someone to teach. It could be a sibling, your parents, or even a pet. #2, pick a topic that you want to revise and quickly skim over the topic. #3, explain the concept in the simplest and clearest way to the person that you're teaching. Step 4, ask them to repeat the theory back to you. If they have understood what you've explained to them, then you have understood it too. If they're confused, skim through the theory again and explain it back to them until they understand. #5, repeat this with all other topics, or I guess for as long as you can make the person sit down for you for. Well, not only is this strategy a fun way to revise, I've found in my personal experience that it's actually more effective than grinding through countless past papers and question sets, which are actually just passively redoing content. This in a way is the power of class discussions and engagement in lessons. Yes, fluency and repetition is beneficial. However, it is only once you have understood the topic as a whole. Once you have understood new content through active recall, that's when you should hone down your specific exam technique. Well, I'll share a personal anecdote with you all. I attended the #1 ranked New South Wales selective school, and in our student culture, it was quite common for the top performing students to actually help the lower performing students during lunchtime breaks. So the top performing students would hold lunchtime seminars or study sessions to help others who are struggling with the topic. Aside from camaraderie between the boys, this mutually benefited not only the students that were struggling, but the high performing students were able to retain the knowledge even deeper by being able to explain it to someone else. And I guess it wasn't something the teachers told us to do. It was something that we realized was mutually beneficial for everybody. I had a group of friends that revised together, and we all held each other accountable to quite a high standard. I guess I am quite fortunate to experience such a unique student culture, which has provided me the opportunity to share this with you all today. Study strategy 2, creating your own personal mistakes book. Creating a personal mistakes book was one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, that helped me become self-aware of the topics that I actually needed to improve in. A mistakes book is essentially your own personal revision manual. It's a textbook that's created by you, reviewed by you, and studied by you. Instead of blindly attempting question sets without any thought of why you are actually attempting those questions, you are effectively creating a compass that directs you towards your gaps and areas of weaknesses. Imagine it as a map with step-by-step ways guiding you towards the treasure. Creating a mistakes book does 3 things. Number 1, it identifies exactly where your specific gaps are through extensive documentation. It ensures that you do not forget where your skill gaps actually are. And number 3, it clarifies which topics that you should be prioritizing when approaching your study. Now that you know why I personally recommend creating your own mistakes book, here's how to create one and use one effectively. Number 1, for every single subject, purchase a blank exercise book and write mistakes book on it. Separate the page into 2 columns. Column 1, questions/mistakes. Column 2, answers/solutions. In column 1, I want you to document every single question that you got incorrect, whether it be in a homework exercise or past paper. When it comes to writing tasks, I want you to note down the specific feedback that you received from your tutor. For NL English Academy students that are reading this right now, I want you to note down both the specific feedback that you receive on your homework and in class as well. You should aim to fill out your mistakes book after every single lesson, after school lessons, and tutoring lessons that you attend. You should consider them just as important as completing the lessons and questions themselves. At the end of the week, review all the questions that you noted down in your mistakes book that you got incorrect, and you should actively revise and study up those questions to ensure that you can get them correct. For me personally, I did this every single Sunday, first thing when I woke up. From Monday to Saturday, I'd collate all the questions, then on Sunday, I'd review it for the week. Your mistakes book ultimately becomes, in a way, like your own personal revision guide. And as your exams get closer, you must re-study and re-revise what you've previously put in your mistakes book. In my opinion, there's no point continuously writing and grinding through practice papers if you are not actually spending the time actively reviewing your mistakes to ensure that you're improving from your previous baseline. The mistakes book provides you with a structured and trackable way to ensure that your skill gaps are actually filled. Because once you've actually resolved a single part of your mistakes book, you can confidently understand that that's an area that you have improved in. Ensure that you do prioritize this alongside learning new theory and practicing to optimize your knowledge retention while revising. All in all, the purpose of a mistakes book is to give you more agency over your own studies and for you to actually know where you are actually improving and where to see how your academic skill progression is actually going. Study strategy 3. The spaced repetition revision strategy. Spaced repetition is the process of revising content at certain intervals after first learning something new. This strategy is most powerful when integrated alongside your revision sessions. I'll be analyzing this strategy with data and logic. The purpose of this strategy is to optimize on how much information you retain over time and essentially tackle Ebbinghouse's forgetting curve. Especially as you progress towards the older grades in year 12, the amount of content that you actually need to remember in such a short period of time can be quite overwhelming. The forgetting curve over here illustrates theoretically how quickly humans forget the information immediately after learning something new. Visually, you can already see that at 10 to 15 hours, most of the information is already forgotten. So how can we actually stop this from happening? Apply the spaced repetition strategy to bring your memory up to 100% in certain intervals, until long-term information retention naturally reduces at a decelerating rate. Here's what spaced repetition looks like on a graph. The red lines over there indicate when you should be revising at which intervals. These review sessions essentially catch the drop in memory retention that occurs over time. For example, if you learnt new information from school and you didn't revise it after school, the day after you might find it hard to remember the content from the day before. Even just a brief revision strategy can bring your memory retention all the way up to 100%. Briefly revising yesterday's content will also be very crucial to ensure that information is retained over a longer time span. Then, when you repeat this in long enough intervals, this only reinforces your knowledge even stronger. So every single revision session will include the theory learnt on the current day, theory learnt yesterday, 2 days before, 4 days before, 8 days before, 16 days before, and so on. As a rule of thumb, it's a 2x multiple. Everyone knows that revision is important, but very few know how to actually revise and when to actually revise. Applying the spaced repetition strategy towards daily revision will make it significantly easier to recall information on exam day without needing to relearn and re-cram the content the night before. If you're a student that crams the content and tries to remember all the past term's worth of content the week before, this spaced repetition strategy is for you. Study strategy 4. Familiarizing with strict exam conditions. Closer to your exams, familiarizing with strict exam conditions is beyond crucial. A lack of familiarity is like finding your way out of a jungle with no direction on how to get out. In your mind, you might be thinking, it's easy enough just to attempt past papers under timed conditions, right? Wrong. Countless students and parents make the mistake of thinking that you or your child is familiarizing with exam conditions by simply doing past papers under time pressure. Yet, time pressure is only one out of the many facets that makes the exam condition. You need to consider that a real exam includes a new environment without TVs, electronics, music, or even people that are in the background, or books that are even on the table. There are other students and exam invigilators that are beside you, and only selected items are allowed to be on the table. To strictly mimic exam conditions at home, emphasis needs to be placed into creating a strict exam style environment. Here's how I would create a strict exam style environment. Number 1, find a separate desk that is solely used for your past papers. Do not sit at your usual study desk or your bedroom. The more unfamiliar you are with the environment, the better. Number 2, I would recommend parents to be in the vicinity of the exam room, but in complete silence. This is to mimic the exam invigilator's presence on the exam day. Number 3, have a clock or an iPad, obviously on Do Not Disturb, that's situated at the end of the exam room. Ensure it is out of reach and that it's not a distraction for your child and only displays the exact correct timing. Number 4, I would go even as far as to change into my school uniform before sitting down onto the seat for the exam. This can help place you mentally into the state of mind and ensure that you take the paper very seriously. Every paper also has exam instructions that are at the front cover. Parents should read this out to your child to replicate the process of an exam briefing before the real exam. The more real the exam condition actually is, the more uncomfortable it would be for students when practicing. Yet, the more uncomfortable students are when practicing, the more comfortable they will be on the actual exam day, which is what actually matters. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. It may get tough, but it's a small price to pay for living a dream. Let's be real. The real exam is not comfortable at all. It's very normal to feel the stress, anxiety, and even the exam jitters. For me, I used to constantly tap my hands and tap my feet when I sat down on my seat before an exam. However, the goal of this is to actually eliminate the unnecessary stress to an optimal stress level through being comfortable with discomfort when practicing. Study strategy 5. the Pomodoro timing technique. When I was younger, I used to sit down and try to get through all the work that I had on my plate in one sitting. I just tried to do everything quickly. As I grew older towards the end of high school, I came to the realization that pushing through work in one sitting was actually quite counterproductive. My effort was no longer 100% channeled through into my study, but rather it was channeled into trying to stay focused and honestly not zone out. Oftentimes, I came to a point where I would have to reread the same content over and over again, yet I would still not absorb the words that were on the paper. Reflecting back, I do realize that I wasted a lot of time studying inefficiently, and it was also quite mentally exhausting. And as you may know, as mental exhaustion prolongs, you do fall into the risk of potentially burning out. But that's where the Pomodoro timing technique comes into play. The Pomodoro technique is a study timing strategy that optimizes your cognitive function while studying by prioritizing active and purposeful breaks. As a preface, this strategy should be considered alongside the spaced repetition strategy. However, obviously, it must not be used when attempting your timed past papers under exam conditions. The Pomodoro technique follows the following sequence. Number 1, identify a task or tasks that you do need to complete. Number 2, set a timer for 25 minutes. Number 3, work on the task without any distractions and aim to get that task you set for yourself done within those 25 minutes. Number 4, when the alarm sounds, ensure that you take a non-negotiable 5-minute rest. Number 5, repeat this process again 3 times. Number 6, after the 3rd time, take an even longer break for 30 minutes. After the 30-minute break, you should restart from step 1 and try again. By prioritizing rest between shorter study sessions, you can avoid the mistake that I made, which was putting effort into actually trying to stay awake as opposed to study. The Pomodoro timing technique places you into a frame of mind where you know your study session has a preset finish line, which actually in a way motivates you to complete your set given tasks within the time frame and not waste any time at all. Personally, when I started using the Pomodoro technique, it allowed me to place 100% of my efforts into study, then 100% of my efforts into actively resting, without being distracted by the thought of when I was inevitably going to get tired. On a side note, ensure that you do take your rest seriously by actively resting. Now, you may be asking, what is actively resting? Actively resting means that your mind is not stimulated by anything else. No electronics, no scrolling, no social media, no chess, no Rubik's Cube, or anything else that would make your mind stir up and think even more. As you do place a timer for your rest, ensure that you do actually remove yourself from the room that you're studying in. For me personally, I preferred on going on maybe a short walk to the garden or playing with my pet pug, do some push-ups in another room, or even simply sitting down and doing some breathing exercises. Study strategy 6, sport is non-negotiable. Back in year 12, I still played competitive football every single Saturday morning to represent my school, North Sydney Boys. Near the end of the season, one of our final matches was actually 2 days before one of our HSC exams. Whilst others were pondering whether to skip the football game to study instead, the thought of skipping did not cross my mind once. Many parents fail to recognize how exercise and sports can actually improve a student's performance through fostering a growth mindset and transferable skills they develop through the game. Personally, if I didn't compete in competitive sports in year 12, I don't think I would have achieved as high of a mark. You should see it as an opportunity for students to release their endorphins and have a good time with their friends in team sports, and ultimately a way to keep your mental health positive under a lot of time and study pressure. You can even think of it like a reward that you're giving yourself for studying and working so hard throughout the week. I've seen countless parents cut out sport from a student's schedule with the reason that there's not enough time. And I want to break this incorrect fallacy down from a very logical perspective. In 1 week, let's assume that the optimal student that prioritizes top marks and overall life development includes a balance of studies, socials, sports, and rest. Therefore, filling up a schedule with only studies and deleting all the other essential aspects which keeps a life balanced can lead a student to long-term burnout. From my personal experience observing not only myself, but the peers around me in year 12, an imbalanced schedule can oftentimes lead to increased stress, risk of burnout, and overall lower long-term study productivity. Additionally, for peers and students who I've observed have completely cut out sports and their social life in order to try to squeeze in more study, it's actually quite uncommon to see them spend all of their waking hours actually on studying itself, even though that's what they've planned for themselves to do. They may spend an hour or more a day scrolling on their phone or on social media, playing video games as a break from their study, procrastinate with the thought of needing to study, and not actually study with an effective study strategy. Therefore, I do believe it is incorrect to remove sports and a social life out of your study schedule. It is part of your study schedule. It shouldn't be something that's thought of as taking away from your studies. The first thing you should cut out and prioritize, if it's actually a time reason, is procrastination, gaming, social media scrolling, and time wasted. If you do any of those prior three for more than 30 minutes a day, then let's be honest, you can fit in sports. And as blunt as it sounds, if you don't pick up sports, it's not because you don't have enough time, it's because you don't prioritize and value it enough. The truth is, you prioritize procrastination, scrolling, and gaming over sports. I noticed one common traits shared amongst some of the top performers and high achievers within North Sydney boys. They are effectively optimizers on all aspects of your life, and study being only one facet. In other words, they are all-rounded and strive to pursue greatness in everything they seek to do. This could be, yes, studies, but also their sports, their communication skills, time management, confidence, public speaking, and so on. But on a side note, in order to balance your sports and your studies together as well, it's very, very important to also optimize and prioritize structured sleep. Structured and consistent sleep is essential for both mental and physical recovery. Mental recovery being for your studies, physical recovery being from your sports. I personally recommend sleeping at the same time every night. Try to wake up at the same time every single morning and have 8 hours a night minimum. If you organize your time and effectively structure your study strategy in advance, take it from me, you will be able to fit 8 hours of sleep in every single night until the end of high school. You might hear from your friends and even see from their own experiences that they are sacrificing a lot of their sleep and even pulling all-nighters. But again, what we want to do is optimize, not maximize. Because once you start optimizing for life, including your studies, that's when you can start to savor the fruits of an efficient study strategy. Now, it is vital that you find a balance between each of these study strategies and find out what works best for you. Keep testing out these study strategies depending on how close and far you are from your exams. These are my following personal preferences. First, I prefer to apply the Pomodoro technique first alongside using my mistakes book. After learning content for the first time, I would consider using the spaced repetition study strategy alongside that too, and using the mistakes book to uncover the areas that I need to focus on the most. Number 3, I will also familiarize with time conditions only after I know that a lot of my theory and content is fully understood and absorbed. For those certain topics that I find trickier and harder to actually absorb and understand, I would place a greater emphasis on the strategy on teaching someone else to ensure that by the end of it, my understanding is completely concrete. All throughout, no matter how short or how far away an exam is, I will always optimize on exercise and sleep to ensure that my study strategy is optimized for the long run. Just on an ending note, I know it may be difficult adjusting to new study strategies at first, but always remember that all new habits are always built brick by brick. Lay down each brick consistently to rebuild yourself every single day. You must strive to be the Genghis Khan of your academic journey, conquering every single exam that comes your way. Now that you have these 6 powerful study strategies that were harnessed by the top 1% of Australian students, you're one step closer to mastering your structured exam strategy. If you found this video helpful, please do ensure you like and subscribe for more specialist tips from NL English Academy. And if you want my team's help in placing your head for Year 3 to 12 English, head down to the description below for more free resources, guides, and study strategies with all the class links that we provide in there too. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys into the next video. So see you for now. Bye bye.